My disappointment is immeasurable.
This don't miss.
No, he's
That don't miss, man.
he's good.
Sara Ali Khan and the perception that people have of her acting skills is a mystery in itself. One really envisioned her to be a formidable talent with her debut Kedarnath, but a lot of people felt it was the prowess of the director Abhishek Kapoor who extracted an innocence and vulnerability from Mukku. This perception of raw talent dissipated quickly when frailties as a performer were exposed with films like Coolie No. 1 and Love Aajkal, which Sara in a very self-aware fashion has expressed in her promotional interviews for Gaslight. One assumed that a slight break from her last release Atrangi Re, Gaslight would be an attempt by the actor to experiment and prove herself as a performer in genres across the board, and so came this Pawan Kriplani film that I had high hopes for because I was absolutely obsessed with the technical ability and atmosphere that was presented in his film Phobia with Radhika Apte. Rather than conveniently targeting the actor for her performance, let's get down to critically why Gaslight missed the mark in being a worthy horror thriller, and why the horror fan within me feels that Bollywood horror really has been missing anything compelling ever since Tumbad. Gaslight focuses on Misha Singh, played by Sara Ali Khan, a paraplegic girl and the only heir to a royal family, returning back to her abode after 15 years, only to notice that her father is not there to receive her. His absence makes Misha suspicious, thinking that the members of the family may have something to do with his disappearance. The context of why Misha came back after so many years and who might be responsible for harming her father forms the premise of this horror thriller. I want to get a few noteworthy points out of the way because it's important to acknowledge what the film attempted, and in some cases successfully so. The film from a production design standpoint nails the atmosphere ideal for a thriller which has some horror elements integrated into its screenplay. You've got the palatial house, a royal lineage, secret passages, secluded wharfs, suspects with possible ulterior motives, a paraplegic running through the echoing hallways. Nikhil as Kovale really does perfectly create the setting to heighten Misha and her anxiety regarding the whereabouts of her father. What is also very interesting about this film is how it sprinkles elements of a Shakespearean tragedy throughout its screenplay. Think of the film as Sahib Biwi or Gangster and Maqbool imagery that highlights the psychological state of the characters. You've got visions, hallucinations, and soothsayers. The moment when Maqbool is consumed with guilt and sees visions of those deceased is well placed in this film as well, hauntingly done in one particular swimming pool sequence that is chilling to say the least. Beyond the atmosphere, Chitrangana Singh puts forth a confident and formidable performance as the stepmother, always keeping the viewer in the dark of her real personality. This makes her performance interesting as you try to suss her out as the film progresses. But if this film is partly salvageable, it is due to the conviction of Vikrant Massey as Kapil. You remember considering the climax of Haseen Dilruba silly, but one of the main reasons why people enjoyed that film was the unhinged energy that Vikrant brought to that film. This ease made the silliness secondary, and I can wholeheartedly say that Vikrant is a standout in this film. But does it hold up together? Well, that's where the negatives come into play. The atmosphere and production design is admirable, but as the film progresses, one feels that the film is just checking off tropes from a horror film versus it actually generating fear within you. Not in a single moment do you feel like you're on the edge of your seat or fearful for a character's safety, because the film, through the tropes of jump scares and its blaring sound design, does the formulaic versus genuinely making us feel that the circumstances are grim and life-threatening. The cinematography presents such dark frames that you almost have to squint your eye to truly navigate movement or what's happening in the frames, sometimes being absolutely incoherent. For a film like Phobia and Game Over to work also, it has a lot to do with actors that anchor that film. Both Radhika Apte and Taapsee Pannu channelize that fear so well. But sadly, Sara Ali Khan is absolutely out of her depth in this film. I, like for any actor, root for them to have a convincing act. But you can clearly see a lack of skill as a performer that becomes even more prominent as she shares screen space with formidable actors like Chitrangana and Vikrant. There is one moment where Sara's natural response should be of disappointment and frustration, but she goes for this slight chuckle at the turn of events, almost bemused at the circumstances. A shout for help is quickly followed by an awkward sobbing. A smirk in an argument with Chitrangana almost seems like she's an evil villain from the 80s, and it all looks unsure and unsteady, a case of an actor not entirely sure of what she's going for. Gaslight is a case of not entirely being convincing from paper to what comes on screen. The ideas are interesting, but it doesn't come together to be a knockout, as the twist is wildly apparent from the commencement of the film. The climax doesn't really generate any form of shock as well. It made me think that the horror genre really does need a solid revival, because this could have been great but ended up being mediocre. With the lackluster feeling that I had with the Hindi outings this weekend, I saw the only show that was available near me for the Vetrimaaran film Viduthalai, starring Soori in the lead role and Vijay Sethupathi in an extended cameo. If there is one creator in Indian cinema who always brings something compelling and hard-hitting regarding the socio-political climate in India, it is Vetrimaaran. His filmography with Dhanush, including films like Vada Chennai and Asuran recently, and in my opinion his best Visaranai, is a testament to always bringing something thought-provoking. A case of an actor like Soori working for more than 20 years in the film industry and mostly playing characters of comedic relief or hero's best friend, finally being given a chance to portray a dramatic role was even more exciting. The film focuses on a police constable, Kumar Sen, who gets recruited in the mountain village in 1987, where the police is in constant conflict with a rebel group termed as the People's Army. While his portfolio is of a driver providing food to the policemen, Operation Ghost Hunt is intended to catch or kill the leader of the People's Army, Perumal, played by Vijay Sethupathi. The cinematography by R. Velraj will both make you marvel at the frames and also look away because of the sheer carnage in the form of human casualties it unapologetically portrays. The opening shot of this film is still etched in my memory, this long shot spanning over a bomb blast on a train track, and the dread just doesn't seem to end. One gets overwhelmed seeing the trauma that surrounds each frame, and one becomes weary of what lies ahead. The case of the mountain village is also presented beautifully as two characters trek to their abode, only panning to become dots in what is this expansive thing called Mother Earth. It also solidified in my mind how real locations in films have become such a rarity in commercial movies, and its impact is undeniable, especially as it conveys stories of a specific sect of people. It is true when someone said that Viduthalai is not for the faint-hearted, as it showcases a mountain village in constant conflict with the police. The locals, influenced by the People's Army, have a resentment towards the police and their inhumane treatment towards the locals, who want to protect their lands from monetary greed of capitalists. One's natural resources and the land at the expense of someone else's profit? One argues for economic growth, but the people of the land know the cost that they have to pay. The police become the executioners following the orders, and the tale becomes so powerful with the introduction of Soori's character, as he enters a land and communicates with the people who have become numb to the misery and death that surrounds them. Soori is a revelation in this film. You immediately connect with his innocence and naivety, this organic need to help those in need, his righteousness, so much so that he stands by his belief and actions, even if it means coming at crossroads with his superiors, and his progression in acknowledging the system and its problems, and how its only solution may be to take charge, really accounts for an exceptional and powerful tale of the system, its subordinates, and the people of this country, who constantly find themselves at the mercy of their decisions. The movie inventively tells its tale through Soori's narration, which are essentially the letters he writes to his mother, and they become our eyes and ears to this environment as well. His belief and morals become the biggest point of contention with the OC, leading to him getting punished and hazed. The romantic angle with Bhavani Sray's character is beautiful and organic. Their conversations and chancing upon such a relationship develop so well. My only gripe probably being the romantic tracks in the film that slow down the film's running time, and it doesn't add nuance to the relationship either. The shot, however, of Soori finally having a home-cooked meal given by her had all my heart. The socio-political commentary by Vetrimaaran is fascinating because this film speaks about the positioning of the government, the convenience with the news, and how they're portrayed, the low pecking order in which the locals are for the people in positions of power, the anger and resentment of both sides, of the police for the lives that they lose in crossfires, and the locals for the mistreatment and abuse caused for no fault of theirs. The abuse of power becomes horrifying to the point where I had to look away in certain sequences. How humans reach a point where it becomes justified in their mind to treat others like wild animals becomes tough to sit through. Vijay Sethupathi has a marvelous, towering presence in this film, and it generated such loud cheering in the theatre. It's going to be fascinating to see how they develop part 2, as I'm sure it will explore his origin story with great detail. What becomes a compelling argument is, what can be termed as a rebel group or a terrorist group is a product of their wants and needs, or a result of the atrocities caused to them. Vetrimaaran presents another film which movie viewers treasure because it makes you think and have discourse about several of its themes. Soori puts forth an exceptional act, making me wish we get to see him in more compelling dramas ahead rather than being reduced to just being comedic relief. Kotukali, his upcoming film, gives me even more faith. Trust me, you won't regret watching this compelling film on the big screen. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below your thoughts regarding Gaslight and Viduthalai. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.